Yo, what's going on, everyone? Today we have an interview for you guys. I'm joined by the Murder Hawk Monster, AEW's Lance Archer, who will be competing in an 8-man scramble match this Saturday, AEW's Revolution pay per view versus Powerhouse Hobbs, Wardlow, Jericho, Hook, Brian Cage, and two more to be announced competitors. Thank you for being here, Lance. Appreciate your time. How's it going?
Not a problem. Glad to be here.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, as I said, you're going to be in an 8-man scramble match this weekend. No meat madness. It has been postponed. It has been put on ice for a later time, I believe. So,
Yep.
yeah. How soon before Tony Khan's tweet yesterday did you find out there would be no meat madness? It must have been heartbreaking.
It's all found out pretty much in real time, but there's still a
Okay.
lot of meat in the match. It's still got me,
Really?
Wardlow. It's still got me, Wardlow, Hobbs. You got Brian Cage in there. Obviously, like you said, Jericho's in it. Hook's in it. Hook's going to be having to hook a lot of meat, considering how big. And who knows who
Yeah.
the other two competitors will be. They may be a couple big ass dudes as well. So
Yeah, man. Tony Khan said on the media call earlier on today. I'm not sure when this interview is going to go out to our audience. Probably, of course, before the pay per view. But yeah, Tony Khan said on the media call yesterday that no earlier on today that there was some injuries and stuff, and it seemed like he was hoping to have like I don't know, like maybe an 8-man meat madness match or something like that. But it's we've got a different kind of 8-man still all kinds of talent in it, as we've both mentioned.
oh yeah.
So it'll still be a good time. It's still good to see you guys getting on the pay per view and all those good
Yep.
things. So yeah, man.
Yep, and it's a number one contendership match. So
Yeah,
from my,
exactly.
from my
So there's
understanding, yeah, it's whoever wins this is going to fight for the title. So I plan on beating everybody up and becoming the number one contender.
yeah, man. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see that. But like I said, I'm sure it'll be. I'm sure this 8-man's going to be great, regardless. And it's your first. Well, it's not a one-on-one singles match, but it's your first match as a singles competitor in AEW since like November or something like that. You've done a
Mhm.
few multi-mans, and of
Yeah.
course, late last year you took part in the New Japan Tag League.
Mhm.
But is more single competition what you're hoping to get back into, or are you just chilling with the multi-mans, happy with the tags and that kind of thing?
For me, it's whatever comes my way.
Hmm.
You're always ready for whatever they're going to throw at you. And with AEW and the amount of talent that we have, the opportunities sometimes are few and far between. So teaming up with the Righteous and the 6-man stuff that we've been doing has been a lot of fun. I think we all mesh really well. But as somebody who's attempted to become champion multiple different times in AEW, becoming a singles champion is something that I've always strived to be. So
Yeah.
this is another opportunity with this scramble to become the number one contender, to go after the AEW World Championship yet again, and to finally become champion. So being a singles competitor is something that I do enjoy doing, but I do have a lot of fun in the multi-mans because, you've got multiple people and there's a lot of different things that can and do happen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different kinds of chaos that you can come up with multiple people.
Yeah, man. Speaking of tags, mentioned just now the New Japan Tag League that you
Right.
competed in.
Yep.
Monster Source, the tag team with Alex Zane, some good
Yep.
performances, positive reviews. Is Monster Source something you'd push to get into AEW anytime soon?
Yeah, I'd love to have Monster Sauce in AEW because I actually think that we'd be a damn good team for the tag championships and all that. Alex has competed a few times on the ROH programming,
Yeah.
but we kind of missed. Like when I was out on the Jericho cruise, he showed up and did the ROH tapings, and then when I came back, he hasn't been back since. But like I said, I think it's a fun tag. We found a lot of fun continuity, a lot of cool tag team moves that we came up with, me using him as a weapon a lot, him using me as a weapon here and there. So I think it's one of those things like only time will tell. I think that if Tony wants it, it'll happen. And I think he'll be pleasantly surprised at how good Monster Sauce is. The fun combination of the amazing stuff that Alex Zane is able to do and the monstrous ass kicking I can do. You put that combination together and you got a hell of a Monster Sauce team.
Yeah, definitely. Alex Zane as well. Speaking of him, he I can't remember if it was 23 or 2022 when he done like one of his first tours in Japan, and he just
Mm-hmm.
immediately got so over that he had like all lines wanting to meet him at all the
Oh
different
yeah.
shows and stuff like that. I think it might have been the best of the Super Juniors that he did.
Yep.
So yeah, he's one of those guys who definitely seems to be versatile. Of course, he had good tag team run with you.
Yep.
He's got over in Japan. He's done it in the US as well.
Yep.
Much like yourself. So, kind of, what is it like, kind of adapting? Because you are definitely well traveled, especially at this point in your career. Like,
Right.
how do you find it adapting to these different places, and especially like how do the crowds differ? Would probably be a better question.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean that I think that's the beauty of pro wrestling is that you can travel around the world. You can experience the different styles of wrestling. Um, being in Japan for most of my career, I did, 9 years straight with New Japan.
Yeah, man.
And, now, luckily, with the way AEW is structured and what Tony allows us to do, we still have a great partnership with New Japan and can go still compete in Japan. The fan base that people always ask that what's the difference between the Japanese fan base and like the American fan base or the Western fan base. And I always say that like the American fan base or the Western fan base is kind of like being in a beehive. There's always a buzz going on. It just
Mhm.
comes in levels, whether it's just going nuts and people are losing their minds, or there's just always some kind of chatter or talk or yelling or screaming at different levels. Whereas in Japan, it's a very intent respect for the fighters, as they call us. So there's a lot of times where if you're watching at home, or you're watching on New Japan World or wherever you're watching it, you'll think, oh, maybe the Japanese fans aren't having a good time. They're not enjoying it as much. But no, actually, they're just very intent in what they're watching. And when they cheer, when they yell, or when they scream, which was taken away from them for a long time in Japan because
Yeah,
the pandemic rules from the Japanese government was they weren't allowed to cheer. Now that they're allowed to cheer again, they're kind of getting their voice back. But again, they pay attention to what you're doing, and when you do something that's worthy of being cheered, that's when they explode, and that's when they really get behind you and show you that love. But then they usually quiet back down because again, they're watching very.
yeah,
Like I said, that's kind of the biggest difference in my opinion. Is like you're in a constant beehive when you're in the American wrestling fan base or the Western fan base, and then the Japanese fan base is just very intent and they're respectful.
yeah. Definitely, you can even kind of see that as a fan because it's like you said. When you're watching US shows, especially the hot shows, it's constant beehive, like you mentioned. And
Yep.
when you're watching kind of like a big New Japan show, even if it is like a good atmosphere and it's a
Right.
busy, they've got a good attendance there and stuff. They're more selective.
Yep.
They come up when they feel like it's the right time to come up. They'll
Yep.
come up at the closing stretch, but
Yep.
like I said, the most selective. They pick the moments when to pop, when to boo, when to react, and stuff like
Yep.
that. It's almost more respectful. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
It's definitely
that's the
different.
Japanese culture. They're definitely from birth. They're basically taught high respect for anyone and everyone, and then that translates to how they are fans. But again, when they let loose, they really let loose.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I guess keeping it on loosely,
Mhm.
Japan and
Okay.
tag teams. Minoru Suzuki, free agent now.
Yep.
Suzuki Gun reunion on the Indies, maybe, or in Japan. Is that an idea that you've had at all?
Oh yeah, I mean I love it. I mean Suzuki was a big part of my wrestling career in Japan. The first time I ever went to Japan back in 2007, I actually fought against him. And then when I did a small tour for All Japan back in 2009, he was the Triple Crown champion. And then fast forward to when I debuted with New Japan in 2011, I was included one of the original members of Suzuki Gun. So he's become more of a brother to me than he is just, a friend or a colleague in the business.
Yeah.
So, he's been to my home a few times. He's stayed with us. So it's a cool experience to become so close with somebody. And, he's so well respected around the world in the wrestling community. Obviously not too long ago, wrestling against Adam Copeland. And unfortunately, I wasn't there. I might could have helped him. We could have beat up Adam together, but
Yeah.
it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, man. It must be something, being like actual friends and having a personal relationship with someone who's so kind of like to me, for example, as a fan, like he's almost like this mythical character, you
Right,
know,
right, right.
Minoru Suzuki. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But yeah, I guess moving to AEW now.
Okay.
When you're on TV,
All right.
you do seem to be booked pretty strongly in the sense
Mhm.
that a high percentage of your losses have came against like AEW's top stars, or when
Right.
AEW wants to give somebody a significant win during a push. So, like
Mm.
from the outside looking in, it's like
Mm.
AEW will start something with you. You'll be
Yeah.
the monster of the month, have a great match to pay it off. Then we
Mm.
don't see you until you're cycled in again. And it
Mhm.
seems like there is an effort when AEW do use you to keep you strong. So do you think this affects how much they use you? Do you ever feel like you want to be more involved, even if that's at the cost of not being as strong? Like, how do you feel about your usage in AEW?
How I feel is that my character and the way I presented myself is always valuable at any moment.
Yes.
It's not whether you're in there all the time or you're in and out and this and that. The thing is like I feel like the Murder Hawk Monster as a character, as a personality, and me myself is somebody that anytime I show up, doesn't matter what's happened in the past. At that moment, everyone believes that I could take down any one of the stars in all elite wrestling in AEW. I could be fighting Samoa Joe for the championship, and if I beat him, everyone would believe it, even if I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't been there in months. Or if I'm fighting Orange Cassidy, or if I'm fighting Darby Allin, or if I'm fighting any one of the number of amazing stars that are in AEW, when I step in there, I'm always a threat. So it's not necessarily where I have to be there all the time. I can come in and out, and then when I do show up, I'm a threat. I'm ready to go. You don't have to put a whole lot behind that, and it's something that people are going to believe in. So yeah, of course, I would like to be around more often. I'd like to be fighting for championships more often. I'd love to be a champion more often. But when I'm there, I'm somebody that you're paying attention to, one way or another. I'm that guy.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of truth, mainly truth to what you just said, and if you don't
I
mind me,
believe it's all truth, but that's okay.
yeah, of course. Um, if you don't mind me pointing out, I'm mid 40s now, so I can imagine there can be sometimes some frustration in always wanting to be active when you're fit
Right.
and ready to go. In the
Yep.
sense that physically, when you hit your 40s, it can be very week to week. Your back might ache, your knee might be playing up, but I'm sure you still have a lot of weeks, evidently, where you're like, I'm feeling good, pains are minimal, I'm energized,
Yep.
let's fucking go. And so when you're not used sometimes, I can imagine it can be quite frustrating.
Well, I think it's frustrating for anyone that has a passion for anything, and then in this business, because we feel like sometimes we feel like it's an out of sight, out of mind scenario, but it's more just because we're passionate. We want to be out there. We want to be
Yes.
performing for the people. We want to be, whether it's in AEW or New Japan or one of the independents that I get to go and work in, which is why I do enjoy working independent shows and still going out to Japan and things like that, because there are different outlets for the passion for the business of
Hmm.
professional wrestling. I can still be the Murder Hawk Monster, whether it's at AEW or New Japan or around the independents. And that's one of the luxuries of working with AEW is that we're still allowed to do that. So while there's times when I'm not one of the mainstays in AEW, I'm still working. I'm still out there. I'm still visible. I'm still a part of it. And,
Hmm.
you wanted to bring up the age thing, but I don't feel it. I don't see it. I think everybody goes through aches and pains, and I just like delivering the pain.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I guess keeping it. No, you mentioned the age, and I guess it's kind of relevant to my next question, which would
Okay.
be, how long do you think you've got left? You're a big man,
Right.
and big men who usually don't quite have the same longevity physically as the smaller guys, but you're also really dynamic. You hit dives, you walk the
Right.
ropes, you can hit all the power moves, you can do
Yep.
all that stuff, but that can't be easy on your body. And that said, I
Right.
don't ever find myself watching a Lance Archer match thinking, oh man, maybe it's time for him to slow down or retire or anything like that. Like, I never find myself even thinking about that. So
Good.
I was about to ask, is retirement even a thing that crosses your mind? But it doesn't seem like it is.
No, not for me. Not right now. I mean, I understand. Time is undefeated. The song says
Of
everybody
course, yeah.
dies, and that includes me. I just have to be
Yeah.
Flash. But as far as professional wrestling is concerned, right now I am blessed. God's taking care of me. I am in very good health. No, never had to this point any major knee issues. I had one back problem back in 2017 that was fixed, and I haven't had a problem since then. The blessings physically have just continued to mainstay. Now, like anybody, we have guys and girls all the time of every age that are going through different kinds of injuries because our business, our sport is very dangerous. And, yes, the big men sometimes don't typically last that long, but if I can maintain the physical aspect that I've had now, the
Hmm.
character continues to grow and become something that people want to see. I think people have as much fun watching me come out of the curtain and beat somebody up on the way to the ring
Yeah.
as much as they like watching me have a match. So it's one of those things
Sure.
like
Yeah.
if I can give them a character and a personality and the Murder Hawk Monster just becomes more dynamic, then I can do this probably for 10 more years, who knows? Maybe 15, 20 more years. Sting's in his early 60s and he's been going strong.
Yep.
But who knows, and I enjoy the business. When it is my time, I hope that somebody will say, hey, man, we can tell that you need to hang it up. So I appreciate you saying that when you watch it, you don't see that and you don't go, oh, man, he's lost a step. So when I start to lose a step, I hope somebody will be honest enough with me to go, hey, man, you're losing that step. Let's either change something or let's work on another fashion of the business. But right now I'm feeling good. I'm moving good and I have no plans on slowing down. And that's probably something a lot of people don't want to hear because they're the ones that are going to get their asses kicked.
Yeah, man, that's great to hear. He's genuinely great to hear. And like I said, I don't find myself thinking, oh man, maybe he needs to take a step back or anything
Well,
like that,
I'm sure
because
there's I'm sure
it's
there's a few
very,
out there.
yeah, it's very like, like these people that you admire as fans, it's like when they do start to get like close to the 50s and stuff, like in most
Mm,
cases, you do kind of get a bit bummed out watching them
mm,
slow down a bit because you're seeing
hmm.
them like they're trying to fight through it, but they're just kind of
Right.
slowing down in front of our eyes. Um, you haven't hit that stage yet, so
Try not to, man.
yeah, man. It's again, it's great to see, and I guess it's kind of relevant as well to add on, like, um, I was gonna ask, is AEW a place
Mhm.
where you would like where you could see yourself and where you'd like to end your career? But since that may be quite a while in the distance from now,
Mm.
um, how long do you have on your current AEW deal left?
I mean, there could be some renegotiations pretty soon, but everything's good right now.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Hopefully, we keep you around. And
Me
of
too.
course, you mentioned Sting not a couple of minutes ago.
Yep.
So finally to close us out, I don't want to diminish anybody on AEW Revolution or any of the matches. It's a fantastic card. Like some would even argue it's one of the best on paper AEW has ever produced. But
Hmm.
ultimately, this is the Sting pay per view. The retirement, the last
Yep.
match of the icon. Sting, one of wrestling's most adored, respected wrestlers. He's calling it a day.
Mm.
So, was Sting part of your fandom growing up and young? Well, when you was younger, and if he was, what did it mean to you? What was it like working with him in the same company, or any nice little stories of interactions that you've had with
For sure.
Sting?
And Sting is the reason that I got into the business. So when I started watching wrestling, he'd taken on the Crow persona. I was a big fan of the movie, and so that kind of captured my attention. So I became a huge Sting fan, and then I started to become a huge wrestling fan. And then luckily, like when I started in the business back in 2000, and then I started with TNA in early 2004. He was working with TNA. I actually got to be a part of his movie that he made that they filmed in Nashville, Tennessee. And then I got to be around him and work with him and have conversations with him. And then, fast forward, we're not like best buds or anything, but I've had a chance to spend time around him and his family. His brother's a pastor and they opened up a church in Texas. And so his family and him moved to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I had opportunities to be around him then. He's taken time out of his schedule to talk to me and give me advice, when I was transitioning from different companies. And then fast forward, when he started with AEW, it was a cool moment because, nobody knew that he was coming. And we're all backstage in Jacksonville. And all of a sudden, here he comes walking by me right before he walked out the curtain. And I was like, what? And he goes, oh, man, hold on. I'll talk to you. And then, he goes and does his moment. We come back and he goes, I couldn't tell anybody, man. But yeah. And I was like, well, this is awesome, And then fast forward to, not that long ago, we got to do the 6-man match against him.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to have a match with him back in TNA. It didn't happen. Fast forward to AEW, I didn't ever think it was going to happen. And then, even though it was just a 6-man, I got to have a moment with him on the end of his journey. And then now being a part of the pay-per-view, which will be, subsequently his last match in the business, it'll be an honor to be around that, see that, and kind of say goodbye to him in the business.
Absolutely. What a career he's had. God bless Stinger, man.
Right. Right.
Well, Lance, massively appreciate your time today and
No
AEW for
problem.
setting this up. I'm sure you will, but I'm wishing you a safe and great time performing this weekend.
Thank
AEW
you.
Revolution, Greensboro, over 16,000 people. The retirement of the icon Sting live on pay per view. Lance Archer and 7 others will also be competing in a scramble match. Putting my money on Big Lance. Hoping to do a lot more interviews this year, so please like and subscribe. We'll keep trying to deliver them to you guys. Thanks for watching, and one more time, thanks again, Lance, for joining us. Peace, everyone.
But